So, have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on when you sleep? Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and honestly mysterious processes we go through every single day: how our mind actually heals and rebuilds itself overnight. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're just wrestling with some problem, maybe a creative block, or just some anxiety that won't let go. And then you get a night's sleep, and something's different. The solution just pops into your head. The weight is gone. So, what is actually happening in that black box we call sleep? Well, it turns out this isn't some random bit of magic. It's a real, predictable, and incredibly powerful cycle that's happening inside your brain every single night. And believe it or not, there's a map for that process. And today, we're going to use a really beautiful story to be our guide. Our map is this story, a kind of dream narrative called The Loop of the Smiling Seed. And it's more than just a nice tale. It's this poetic journey that perfectly illustrates the hidden mechanics of how our minds get renewed. So let's walk through it together. Okay, so the story starts at dusk. You've got that feeling of the day's pressure, right? Just a subtle tension. You brush some dust from your sleeve, and that dust, well, it's a symbol for all the unresolved feelings, the little conflicts, the sensory overload that's just built up all day. It's the residue of being awake. And then, just as you're drifting off to sleep, all that residue starts to transform. A baby appears in the dream, just radiant and smiling. And this smile, it's not just on the baby's face, it's a warmth that actually seems to curve the air around it. The moment you reach out, the day's dust just, poof, dissolves into these little silver sparks, and you're left holding something that feels totally new, balanced, and perfectly whole. Then the whole scene shifts. The baby's cradle dissolves and becomes this small, raised garden, a gardenette. You find yourself kneeling and your hands are deep in the soil. And as you dig, you're not just moving dirt, you're lifting out these handfuls of memory, turning the day's heavy thoughts into rich, fertile earth. You're literally releasing what was weighing you down. And right there at the bottom of the pit you've just dug, you find something. It's a seed, and it's glimmering, almost like an echo of that baby's smile. You can feel its potential, that it's just full of life. You gently press it into the soil and cover it up. The dream doesn't really end with a big finale. Instead, it ends with this feeling of inhaling light that just pulls you into the morning. The ideas from yesterday are still there, but they don't press on you anymore. They flow. That anxiety, it's been transformed into simple curiosity. The loop is complete. Okay, so that was a beautiful story, right? But here is the absolute kicker. It's not just poetry. It's actually a very precise allegory for a scientific theory called the Brain Kinematics Model, or BKM for short. And this model gives us a whole new way to understand how our minds process what it calls mental strain. So first things first, let's define that term. The dust from our story, it has a scientific name: neural strain. Just think of it as all the unsorted data, the emotional static, and all the unresolved tension that builds up in our neural networks while we're awake. It's the raw material your brain has to work with every night. And this chart, wow, it maps our story right onto that 24-hour circuit. You can see the symbols from the dream right there. We start with waking, where we're accumulating all that dust. Then comes sleep onset, which brings emotional harmonization. That's the baby. Deep dreams are for symbolic reconstruction, the garden. And we wake up with cognitive reintegration, the light. It's a perfect match. Okay, so we've got the story on one hand and the science on the other. Now let's do the really cool part. We're going to connect them directly. We're going to decode the loop, translating each symbol from the dream into what it actually means, scientifically. Let's start right at the beginning of our journey into the night, the dust. That feeling of all the day's pressure just clinging to you. So in BKM terms, this dust is a collection of microstrain residues. What does that mean? It's basically the unsynchronized neural static, all those tiny chaotic firings in your brain that haven't been sorted out yet. It's the leftover emotional energy from every single interaction, every thought, every little bit of effort you put into your day. And then, out of all that chaotic noise, the dream creates its most powerful image: the smiling baby. A single point of pure harmony. Now, scientifically, this is just fascinating. The baby represents what's called a low entropy attractor field. Okay, I know that sounds super technical, but think of it like a powerful magnet. All that chaotic dust, all that neural static, is like a bunch of loose iron filings. The baby's smile is the magnet that pulls all those filings into a perfect, coherent, and beautiful pattern. It brings order to the chaos. So once that messy energy gets organized, the dream needs a place to put it, to replant it. And that's where the gardenett comes in. This isn't just any old garden. It symbolizes a structured cortical midlayer in the brain. You can basically think of it as the brain's workshop. It's the mental soil where this newly harmonized emotional energy can be replanted, repatterned, and given a brand new structure within your mind's architecture. And finally, after all that hard work, the sorting, the harmonizing, the replanting, the process gives you a finished product, the seed. So what is this seed, really? It represents a localized memory motif. In simpler terms, it's a consolidated unit of both emotion and thought. It's the new insight, the resolved feeling, the creative idea, all neatly packaged and ready to pop into your conscious mind when you wake up. So we've traveled from a dream story all the way to brain science. But what's the big takeaway here? I mean, why does this nightly cycle of turning dust into a seed actually matter for our waking lives? This quote right here, this is the central principle of the whole theory, and honestly, it's pretty profound. No strain is lost. It only changes its geometry. Think about that for a second. None of the stress, the tension, or the emotional energy from your day just vanishes into thin air. It's all conserved. Sleep is the process of reshaping it. And this slide really breaks down that whole transformation beautifully. During the day, we build up all this linear stress, like a straight, tense line. Then dreaming bends that line into a curve, a symbolic, balanced image, like a smile. Deep sleep then solidifies that new pattern into memory. And when we wake up, our conscious mind can take that elegant curve and straighten it back out into a functional, clear thought. It's a literal conversion of strain into meaning. So the next time you go to bed feeling that dust of the day weighing on you, remember this loop. Your mind isn't just shutting down for maintenance. It's going to work. It's planting a garden. And that leaves us with a pretty important question. If your dreams are a map of your mind's renewal, what story is it trying to tell you tonight?